Okay, everybody out there in Twitch land. Hey, this is Game Time with Doc and Lurch. Lurch has stepped away for just a second while I do the sound check. It's still actually about 3 minutes till our broadcast time. I just wanted to do the sound check early because we usually do better if I do the sound check a little bit early. So check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. Can't quite hear him in the background, so I don't know if his voice comes through, but I assume it is because we usually don't have any problem with that. And people will let us know. All right, let me bring out the chat when it pop up so that we can enjoy that as well. So I can see if anybody has any comments and expand it so I can see the text nice and big. So it grabs my attention if somebody post something in the chat. Okay. Anyway, we do have a great show for you today. For those who don't know, we are Game Time with Doc and Lurch. We are here every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We almost weren't here this week. I had a doctor's appointment earlier, and I may not have gotten home in time to get everything started, but everything worked out. But that's generally the only time we'll have troubles if we're having some kind of real life thing like internet issues, or if we're out at like doing like an on-site event thing like a convention or something, although we don't do them on Tuesday right now, so that's not that big a thing. We are part of Eclectic Endeavors, the people that bring the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo. And Lurch is back with us right now. We're still doing the sound check real quick, and I was doing our introduction.
Okay.
But yeah, we're part of Eclectic Endeavors, the group that brings you the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo, which is fast approaching. As you can see in the center part of the screen, is October 14th, 15th, and 16th at the Springfield Expo Center. For $10, get in for the entire weekend and have a wonderful time of gaming and nerdy fun. It's not just games. I know the name of the con is Game, but it's not just about games. It's about cosplay and comic books and crafting and Kickstarters and everything nerdy. I mean, we get the Ghostbusters of the Ozark there. We get the Costuming Guild. We get Amped Guard. We get the LARPers. We get lots of tabletop games, lots of electronic games. We're on a fantastic electronic gaming area.
Part of the name is our primary attention is on gaming, but that's a really broad thing because there's so many different kinds of gaming.
Yeah, we are an active con. Unlike some cons that's more about just socializing and partying, we're about doing stuff. We like stuff for people to do. So we have lots of tabletop space, and we run lots of tabletop games, board games, card games, role-playing games. And then we have a huge video game area with lots of consoles and TVs set up. Lurch puts on a fantastic show with that. Like he said, he's got 48 gaming consoles he personally owns, not to mention all the ones that he gets on loan and stuff. So there's all kinds of different consoles that you can play on with all kinds. He has a library that's unbelievable of games. And you can try out most games on the system on different size TVs. And it's open from basically open to close the whole time the game is open. So the only time, there might be some limitations. Other people have it reserved, or when he's running an actual tournament. And then specific games might be in use for that tournament. Some other people may not be able to borrow them. But other than that, his gaming area is just chock full of electronic gaming goodness. So, and that's what brought me and Lurch together with our previous co-host, Greg, who's the tabletop director for Eclectic Endeavors. He is, of course, no longer a host here because of time constraints, but he still does the game night at Holdfast Brewing Company, sponsored by Game. That's the third Wednesday of every month. So if you want to go out, play some board games, have a nice microbrew or some good food, go out to Holdfast Brewing Company and say hi to Greg Pullman, who is our good friend and fellow game representative. And if you have any suggestions for the show, comments, anything like that, you can tell them to Greg and he'll pass them along to us. We're we're still in communication with him. We still talk to Greg, and it's great. Also, Thursdays, he typically twitches on his own channel, Queen City Cardboard, lots of different games, usually of a more role-play nature. He'll Twitch stream it, and usually starts about 10 a.m. on Thursdays. So check out his Thursday show at Queen City Cardboard channel on Twitch. Lurch can be found, of course, on the Left Claw Studios channel. Not super active right now, but if you go to their YouTube channel, they've got lots and lots of old videos that they've uploaded and stuff. And every once in a while, him and Angel still do a video. You'll know Angel. He's, of course, our often special guest here on the show. He's not here this week, but we get him here for movie releases especially. He's a great person, and we look forward to seeing him again. He was here for our Thor: Love and Thunder episode, which is his most recent entry, and we hope to have him even more often.
Yeah, I think he's wanting to join us for some She-Hulk conversation, because of all the shows that had been announced, all the Disney Plus shows, She-Hulk is the one he's most looking forward to.
Oh yeah, I'm so looking forward to that.
I'm certain he's going to have some thoughts on that.
Of the old roster, She-Hulk is. Of the new roster, the new Daredevil is probably the one that's most anticipated, because everybody's glad to see Charlie Cox back in the fold with 18 episodes. Now, one bit of
Hulk is his favorite Avenger, and he's loved She-Hulk for years, so he's extremely thrilled that she's got her show, and he's been talking since there were first murmurs about maybe a She-Hulk. He's like, I hope we get to see her in court, because I think that'll be fun, get to see her representing different superheroes. Like, and he was making those kinds of wishes long before we even knew the show was even actually going to happen. Like, there were just rumors that there was going to be a show, and he's like, I hope we get to see her in the courtroom, like, defending other superhero characters and superpowers.
So they
looks like that's exactly. I think we're getting exactly what he wants out of it.
Little bit of bad news. It's only slight bad news for She-Hulk. It's not going to premiere on the 17th like originally anticipated. It's been bumped to the 18th. And there's a reason for that. It's a good reason, although I personally think they should have bumped the other shows. They didn't want it to compete with their release of Star Wars shows like Ms. Marvel did, by both of them releasing on Wednesdays. So instead, She-Hulk's going to release on Thursday as a trial, and the new Star Wars, when it comes out, Andor, in a few weeks, will release on Wednesdays, and that way they're not directly competing on the same day, and they didn't bump them up to like Friday or Saturday when other streamers do their big releases. By giving them Thursday, the Marvel shows, if this one works out, they're going to continue to do the Marvel shows on Thursday from now on. But I think that's actually not a bad thing, although personally, I wish that Marvel had kept the Wednesdays and they'd thrown Star Wars to Thursday, because it's the later happening show. So let's bump it another day. But that's okay. It's also, the Star Wars shows aren't as important to me. I don't watch them as many of them.
Personally, I kind of appreciate the shift so that we have one show, on each day.
I do appreciate the shift. I just wish it had been the other show that shifted. But it's okay. I'm not too hurt about it. It's only one day.
Yeah.
It's one day. It'll still be in time for us to include it in the following show. It would be in the same episode with us, so it's not really affecting our show. And that's really the point. It just means that I'm not watching it Wednesday morning at dialysis like I normally do. As soon as it drops, at 6 a.m., I'm watching it at dialysis. Now it's whenever I wake up on Thursday that I'll watch it. But we do get I Am Groot this week. On Thursday.
That drops tomorrow, right?
Yes, that is not getting shifted. So, there's only 20 minutes of actual content. It's 6 shorts, but they take 20 minutes from what I understand. So they all drop at once. We're not going to get a whole lot of background, but it's going to feature Groot and a little bit of Rocket. And I'm looking forward to it. And we will talk about it next week. Anyway, we are now into the actual time of our show by about 7 minutes. So we're going to move forward into our first topic, and as usual, we like to start with Lurch. So, let's see. I'm on the wrong support screen. Just a second here. And here we go. And it looks like he's going to talk about Evo. And I was hoping he would talk about Evo because it's the big.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the big fighting game expo.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, Evo, primarily Evo's a fighting game tournament.
Right.
Which, if you're not aware, is now owned by PlayStation. PlayStation bought Evo in the last year or two. I forget exactly when they bought it. But
the last news I had of Evo was when they were upset at Microsoft because of the way they released Tekken for a tournament there, but they had it was like a beta edition, and a lot of the more popular characters didn't have all their movesets loaded, which really crippled some of their competitors. And they got all pissed about it, and they started saying that from then on, the only Microsoft game that they would be allowing at Evo was going to be Killer Instinct, I think, because of the fact that it's an exclusive. It'd be just like how Smash Brothers is the only Nintendo one that generally goes to Evo. The only Microsoft was going to be Killer Instinct. All others was going to be the PlayStation version or the PC version because they were just upset between how they did the Tekken and the frame rate refresh of the Xbox was really tanking for combat games. Although I don't know if the Series S and Series X got better at that or not. But now PlayStation owning it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So anyway, with the tournament going on, they've made a lot of announcements. A lot of announcements were made throughout Evo for major fighting games, and so I wanted to hit up a few of the subjects that came up. That's what I'm really looking at for today. I don't keep up with the competitors in these tournaments. It seems like something I might enjoy, but I don't know.
Yeah, you think we're really big esports enthusiasts, but as much as we enjoy the games ourselves and we enjoy the hobby, I would rather play the games myself than, watch a bunch of competitive gamers.
I have nothing against people who enjoy watching it, but I'm kind of like, I have the same feeling towards watching competitive esports as I do watching competitive sports. As a kid, I'm a little too old and out of shape today, but as a kid, I enjoyed playing football and baseball and things like that with kids in the neighborhood, growing up. But I never cared for watching it on TV. I was just like, I don't care to watch professionals play this sport.
Yeah,
I enjoy playing it, but don't want to watch. And sometimes I'll watch to see just because I'm impressed by how great these folks are. And so I'll occasionally watch a little bit here or there, but for the most part, I don't keep up with the NFL. Someone asked me if I was watching the Super Bowl, and I didn't even know it was football season.
That's me. That's me. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sports are for doing, not watching, in my opinion.
I went out to eat last week, and someone's like, "So, who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl, or how you got Super Bowl plans, or something like that?" I don't remember what it was, and I was like, "The Super Bowl, is that coming up already?" Seems like we just had one. And I'm the same way. My attention to Evo is primarily about, the announcements that come out of it.
And the new games and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to have some of these announcements that we got. Street Fighter 6 revealed a couple of new characters named Kimberly and Jury, and it included some video footage of it. And both of them look really cool. I think it was Kimberly of the two. She was, it looks like, dark skin, I don't know, I think she's an African American woman ninja who uses spray paint. She has ninja techniques and spray paint.
So she's a graffiti fighter.
Yeah, she's like a hip hop ninja, and it's just a really fun looking mix that I don't think I've ever seen anywhere, and it's really curious. And I'm not even a big Street Fighter fan, but I have to say everything I've seen about Street Fighter 6 looks freaking awesome. And so I think I'm gonna have to give Street Fighter 6 a
I
go
think
when it
I
comes
mentioned
out.
before, I was a competitive Street Fighter fan,
Yeah.
playing both mainly Blanca and Chun-Li. And I
Yeah.
prefer mostly the female characters or the bestial characters, which is why I like Blanca and Chun-Li. And so seeing two new female characters, I assume Juri is a female character. I could be wrong.
Yes.
The sound
Yeah,
is
Juri. So Juri is like this feminine punk rock kind of
punk rock
Asian,
princess.
like, I'm trying to think. I think someone described her as being like an Akira-inspired character. She comes in on a fancy, like, Tron-esque motorcycle and has,
nice.
I think, like a spiked collar and,
very punk, yes.
yeah. So she looks pretty cool, too. I think Kimberly looked more fun for gameplay to me than Juri did, but I definitely appreciate Juri's, like, aesthetic. I think also just part of, like, Kimberly is, the Kimberly character was felt a lot more original, whereas the Juri is cool. She, looks like a kind of a character I've seen in, like, other movies or other properties before,
Juri's been done before, yeah.
Yeah, but still looks really great. And then, they put out some footage for both of those new characters, new original characters for Street Fighter 6. And then, also an announcement was made for a new Fatal Fury / Garo game.
Garo, which is French for wolf.
I'm not sure the proper pronunciation of that.
Is Garo, which is French for wolf. It usually means werewolf.
Oh, okay. So, like, I'm familiar with Fatal Fury. I'm not terribly familiar with Garo, but
the actual French term is loup-garou, which is werewolf. But Garo is usually used to mean werewolf, so I assume that there's some kind of lycanthropic element to the game. Because Garo is, like I said, werewolf.
Gotcha. Oh, on the subject of Street Fighter 6 also added some real-time commentators, James Chin and Tasty Steve. So, that sounds pretty cool. I'm not familiar with these commentators, but dude, if they're putting in real-time commentators in the game, like the old wrestling games I used to play, but more modern and Street Fighter-esque, that sounds like a really good way to, like, hype up the game while you're playing. You'll get all these exciting announcements
that automatically come through depending on what's in the game.
That's something that's always been exciting about the Killer Instinct is like the announcer will be like combo breaker kind of stuff,
Yeah.
They can get more specific with these commentators. I'm here for it,
Yeah, well, the AI is getting better, which means they can put more campaigns that more.
Tekken 8 got a tease. Which I am a big Tekken fan. I've played it. I played every Tekken game, even Tekken Advance. My favorite Tekken is Tekken 5. I love the Tekken franchise as a whole. Yoshimitsu's my main character.
I think Tekken 5 was the one that was the big controversial one at that last Evo I talked about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. I'd have to check with Jonathan because he's the one that clued me in on that back then.
It's weird to think about. Tekken 7 is the Tekken I've played the least, and I think it has the biggest roster. It's got a ton of characters. But
it's a good game. It is. I don't play a lot of them anymore, but I do like combat games. Because like I said, I'm a Street Fighter and Killer Instinct fiend. I love both of those games, and Mortal Kombat was even a lot of fun.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat's my favorite fighting game franchise. However, it was not represented at EVO. It didn't get any announcements.
Yeah, the original.
Which Ed Boon tweeted that in advance. He made a tweet that he wasn't gonna have any announcements for EVO, and like apologized that the other Realm Studios didn't have anything that didn't put out there. I watched the teaser for this one. It's pretty cool. It starts off showing footage from the PS1 era, from the original 1995 Tekken game, where Kazuya is carrying the body of his father Heihachi to a cliff and throws him over the cliff, and then he looks at the camera and kind of gives a grin. But then as he's doing that, the camera is moving in closer to his face, and he has this grin. There's this weird glitchy thing or whatever, and then it cuts to PS5 era graphics of his face with the red glowing eye and the smirk. and then it has the classic announcer voice of Tekken yelling, "Get ready!" And that was it. So it could be a Tekken 8. It could be. Some people are speculating it might be a remake of Tekken 1.
A remaster or something, yeah.
The problem with that theory is that Kazuya did not have the red eye in Tekken 1. He didn't get the red eye until like Tekken 6, I think.
I do like how it says it here. It says, "At least we think so." So they're not even sure.
Yeah. Because that's all that they did. They didn't make any. They didn't give any titles or anything. All it showed was, all we saw was footage from the PS1 game, and then a cut to that weird. You have that weird little warp, and then really high res Kazuya with his modern, older look. With he looks old. He's got the eye thing, and then it yells "Get ready" with the text "Get ready" on the screen, and that was it. No dates, no titles.
Definition of a teaser. Oh my God!
It's a hell of a teaser.
Okay, you already talked about commentators, so skip over to the next one, which is the DLCs for King of Fighters 15. Nice.
Yeah, it's new DLC fighters for King of Fighters 15 were announced and dated. Guilty Gear Strive adds a new character named Bridget. King of Fighters 15 gets cross-play between all platforms, which that is great. The more of that we see, the better.
Yes, definitely.
Wait a second. Samurai Showdown, it says Samurai Showdown will get rollback netcode in 2023. Is there a modern Samurai Showdown I missed? Because I used to enjoy the crap out of the old ones. I need to find that out. I might look that up whenever you're chatting, and then let you know later if I found anything about a modern Samurai Showdown. But apparently there's, I think they have the original one made with online multiplayer a couple years back. I'll have to check. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax now has rollback netcode. Which, okay, if you're not familiar, rollback netcode is a newer version of the code for online multiplayer games to communicate that has a significant improvement over the old technology. And so that is basically they're upgrading their online
the multiplayer
service
experience.
For the multiplayer, yeah. So you can play online multiplayer smoother with that. Guilty Gear Strive has cross-play and other updates outlined. Dragon Ball FighterZ is coming to PS5 and Xbox Series X and S with rollback netcode.
Nice.
Multiverses, for anyone that doesn't remember, is that Warner Brothers fighting game that's kind of like Smash Brothers. It's a lot like Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
With Warner Brothers characters like Superman, Batman, the Adventure Time characters, Jake the Dog and Finn. It's got the Iron Giant. It's got Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. It's got LeBron James from Space Jam.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week.
Yeah. Which I have now put in 20 hours into that game. I unlocked all the preseason unlocks. So now I'm waiting for Season 1 to start. And they put out the plans for Season 1 during EVO, which included adding Rick and Morty and, some other content, some other prices.
That last week too, yeah.
Yeah, so, Melty Blood type Lumia, getting major update this year. I'm gonna admit, this is the first one I mentioned. I have no idea what it is. I don't know what Melty Blood is.
Yeah, I've never heard the term. That Lumia, of course, implies some kind of luminescence or something, but that's about it.
Yeah. Skullgirl's second Encore announces Marie as a DLC character. That's a fun little 2D fighter. Have you ever played Skullgirls?
Mm-hmm.
It's all the playable characters are girls, and it's got like kind of this anime gothic kind of a look to a lot of it. I played the original when they only had like 4 or 5 characters, and then they added more characters over time. It's a pretty fun 2D brawler, 2D fighter. And then the last one, I had Brawler in my head because of this next one. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls getting Hugh Neutron as a DLC character.
Nice.
Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has a good gameplay mechanics, but like everything else about it is kind of cheaply done. I had better hopes for it. Anyway, so that is the gist of the announcement. Of course, you can get a lot more details. I pulled this quick and easy list off of GamesHub.com and their news features, and it has all these like posts that I think Doc has shown on the screen are clickable, so you can get more details. And there's a lot more details on this. I'm just kind of trying to hit some, because there's so many. I'm trying to get through them very quickly.
Here's a little of the new characters featured from Street Fighter, Kimberly. Just kidding. I turned the sound off so we don't have to worry about being kicked for copyright. Oh yeah, she's pretty neat, and kind of reminiscent of Chun-Li too. But oh man, nice moves. I love the flow.
What's that?
I love the flow of her combat moves.
Oh, is that Kimberly?
Yeah, it's Kimberly.
Yeah, like.
I love the paint that kind of outlines what she does.
Yeah, watch when she does her special. This is freaking cool. So, we got her doing this like ninja hopping around stuff, which is pretty cool. And she got like a Walkman.
Yeah, that's the one that's going right now.
Feels very 90s.
Oh.
Punch him in the face with a spray can. She's shaking it up while jogging.
She's great. I love her. And then, of course, the next is Jury. Let's just get a couple
Doesn't that just look fun?
We're going to watch the whole thing of Jury. We're just going to... okay, there's that bike.
So there is a 2019 version of Samurai Showdown. I'm going to have to scoop that up and try it out. I really like the one from the 90s. Hopefully the 2019 version is just as good, or hopefully even better. You know what I mean?
She's in belly dancer for parachute pants. Oh my God. She's got like belly dancer parachute pants. Yeah, or like combat parachute pants. Nice. Oh, that midair kick was badass. Okay, that's enough of that. We could spend all kinds of time drooling on stuff like that. So let me go ahead and pause that. There we go.
All right.
That's amazing. I knew we would want to see a little bit of that. Okay, well, we're looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll catch into that later. Let's go on to my topic, and I actually have 2 pages towards my topic, but they're really quick. First off is you can now get a scale build your own Knight Industries 2000 kit to build your own model for kit. Of course, that's
the Knight Rider car
show. Yes.
That's
just
cool.
like Michael Knight, you'll have your very own automotive sidekick receiving monthly shipments directly to your mail with parts and instructions on how to build your own model of kit. So it's like one of them subscription programs there. They gradually send you the pieces and you build it over time as a project. So it'd be a great thing like father, son, uncle, nephew kind of thing to do, or, a couple of friends doing it. They meet and put a few pieces together every month, and you get to put together the kit car. And it's an actual kit car of kit, which I wanted to point out and look at some of the details here of the inside of the model. It looks really detailed inside the dashboard and everything.
God damn.
Yeah, this is some hot shit.
And did you ever watch the Reboot series?
I've watched everything Knight Rider's ever done, including the Team Knight Rider, which was actually one of my favorites, even though it didn't last very long.
I don't know enough about it. I only seen a few episodes of the original show, and then that Reboot series, I watched the pilot, which was like a 2-hour-long TV event with no commercial. They called it no commercial breaks. But there were commercial breaks just as normal as usual. Just every commercial break was about a car.
Yeah, it was themed commercial breaks.
It was the same. Whatever company manufactured the new version of the car was the only commercials, whether it was Ford or whoever. They were the only commercial breaks. And so it'd be like, this show brought to you without commercials by Ford, and it'd show a car. And it'd be a custom-made commercial with the actor from the show and all that stuff. And I was like, this is, I don't think this qualifies as a commercial-free show.
It was.
I think at this point,
commercial.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure this entire 2 hours is just a 2-hour-long Ford commercial.
But it was actually pretty good. They used nanobot circuitry for that reboot, but that's pretty good. I love Knight Rider, and I still say it's the only reason David Hasselhoff should really exist, because most of the other stuff he did was terrible. But Knight Rider was good.
I mean, his musical career is huge in Germany.
Oh, I don't mind his musical career, but most of his career as far as movies and TV goes, other than Knight Rider, wasn't worth mentioning. You know, like Baywatch, I wasn't a big fan of, and he did a terrible original Nick Fury movie before we got Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. His Nick Fury was no good at all. But he does silly cameos in movies. That's not too bad. But Knight Rider was really the only thing that he did of any real worth. And the car was more the star than Michael was. I think that's part of the reason it was so good show, because you didn't care as much about Michael as you did about the car. Kit was the star. And so being able to get your own Kit car with specifications is 1/8 scale. Length is 23 inches approximately. Weight is 16.53 pounds. Remote control watch, which is cool because he had the communication watch in the show.
Oh, but wait. This model has a locking doors?
That's what it looks like. Doors, hood and trunk that open. Working headlights, tail lights, and interior lights. Functioning steering wheel that turns the wheels. Engine with full details, rotating license plate, hinged windows, and high-quality die-cast metal and injection molded plastic. I mean, that's pretty badass. Now, on a related thing, I said this topic for me had two things, because it's both about stuff that you can get as a nerd collector, but it's not all about Knight Rider. The first one was about Knight Rider. The second one is at Jeff Dunham's website. You can now get, as of last Thursday, a ventriloquist capable peanut doll for $199.
Oh, wow.
Ventriloquist, and he went off and he did an actual video that I saw on Facebook last week.
Jeff Dunham voice not included.
That's right. Jeff Dunham voice not included. But he went through and he was like very exacting about what color purple they used and all the things. He made sure, he paid extra to make sure the mouth opened much wider because, of course, with Peanut always does a big wide mouth and, okay, you know, in the middle of the act. Yeah. And so he made special. Now, of course, the actual Peanut he uses is a Muppet, not a ventriloquist doll, because he's using hand motions to control Peanut. But this one has the ventriloquist stick with the lever trigger that opens the mouth and stuff. So it doesn't have as customizable motions as the one he uses in his act. But shoot, Peanut is like his oldest recognizable puppet. He has been using Peanut in his act longer than any other ventriloquist doll that he has used. I mean, Walter is, age-wise, it seems like the oldest puppet, but Peanut really is. Walter's my favorite. But really, the fan favorite and the one everybody wants to collect, the one uniquely Jeff Dunham, is Peanut. And so I thought it was exciting. If you have any friends, or especially friends with kids that might be interested in getting into ventriloquism as a hobby, I mean, what better gift for $199? That's really cheap, to get a ventriloquist articulated Peanut doll. And so I thought I would mention that in tandem with the Knight Rider kit, which really I just found the Knight Rider kit linked like earlier today.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll throw that in with the Peanut thing and make it a combined kind of topic. But for nerd collectors, we collect everything. We love to collect nerdy stuff. I mean, if you look behind Lurch, he's got all of his game controllers on display on his wall, as we talked about last week, because he is making a game controller homage wall that he can just reach up and grab the controller as he needs it for those retro games.
Yeah.
So we love collecting old controllers and pop caps and die-cast models and making paper mache and ironworks and whatever. I mean, our cosplayers in our group make their own cosplay. I mean, there he's showing you those controllers. He's showing you his game room study. This is his retro gaming room where he broadcasts from, so it's mostly retro consoles here. Other parts of his house has the more modern consoles and bigger screen TVs to go with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what we do in the nerd community. So what better than to show you guys where you can go and get a couple of great nerd tchotchkes. And the Peanut ventriloquist doll, to me, is one of those ultimate nerd tchotchkes, just like the Knight Industry 2000 1/8 scale model is a great tchotchke to have. And that is, like I said, an ongoing project because it's a monthly subscription. So you can spend months putting it together with a friend or by yourself. And then at the end, have this nice model with the remote watch and everything and all the turn on lights. And then just mess around with it for hours and hours and hours and show it off to your friends when they come over. Because, you know, most of us have like display areas for stuff. When we get finished with our house, we'll have our bookcases with all of our board games on display, and intermingled with those board games will be some of my D&D minis and my collectibles like my Doctor Who pop caps and things like that. So we love that kind of stuff. So I wanted to just real quickly point out a couple that people could get. And then, so if you go to jeffdunham.com, you can order the Peanut ventriloquist dummy. And you know what? I should reopen that page I just closed because I did not give anybody the place to go. You want to go to fanhome.com to get the Knight Rider.
FanHome?
FanHome.com.
Very good.
And
that's
then look up
great
the Knight Rider.
Website name.
Isn't it? They probably have a bunch of other tchotchkes and stuff. I need to look around their site more. In fact, I'm going to leave that open on the end so that I can look at it more later. Like I said, I just discovered it this morning before my doctor's appointment because I set most of my part of the show up before going to my appointment just in case we were able to do it and I got home later. But I got home with plenty of time. But I had all of my stuff already set up. So it was one of my more smooth setups this week. But
they got a pretty badass looking Iron Man on that website too.
Do they?
Yeah. Specifications: limited edition, made of metal and high quality injected ABS plastic, posable model with a variety of movements. The reactor, hand repulsors, boot thrusters, and mark visor have LED
the
lights.
Mark III armor? The build-up Mark III armor? It looks like it's in the menu.
Yeah, that sounds right. Articulated flaps on the legs and shoulders, articulated pieces let you view the internal mechanisms.
They've got an R2-D2 model.
The Iron Man model is not a toy. It is an authentic masterpiece.
They have the Furious Dodge Charger.
Holy crap, it's 24 inches tall.
Street Fighter figure collection. I mean,
this motherfucker's 2 feet tall.
Yeah, I kind of want to look at the specs for this R2-D2. Let me see. Disney's R2-D2 specs. Rotated metal dome with built-in camera. 2 modes of operation. Includes speaker, camera, projection, capable of, let's see. Where's the spec? The height. Okay, the picture is a half-size model, but we don't know what the scale is. Wow. But the R2-D2 looks amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you were looking at the Iron Man. We might as well just go check that out now. And we have now become fans of this site. Oh, yeah. There we go. There's your Tony Stark. 24 inches. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
High quality injection ABS plastic and metal. Posable model with a variety of movements. The reactor, hand repulsor, boot thrusters, and mask visor have LED lights. Articulated flaps on the legs and shoulders. Articulated pieces that you view the internal mechanisms. Licensed Marvel Studio product. Batteries are included. Wow, that's something you don't normally see.
Yeah, I know, right?
The Iron Man model is not a toy. It is an authentic masterpiece. I would agree. That's a masterpiece.
You mean it doesn't come with an authentic miniature arc reactor? What a rip!
I know, right? I mean, we could have an arc reactor and Avengers Tower. Come on. And
you never hear Iron Man talk about batteries.
And 52 points of articulation.
Yeah.
52 points of articulation. That's a lot. For most people, don't realize how much movement that actually is. Most models only have about a half a dozen or so articulation points.
He's got more articulation than I do.
I know. He's better moving than I am. With my disability, I'm lucky if I got two. I mean, except for my mouth. My mouth works nonstop. But all right, yeah, definitely going to be worth checking some more of that out. So we'll go to that. We're going to go on to your next topic now, but I was glad I found that site. I'm even more glad now that we checked out some of their other offerings because that's just badass stuff.
Yeah.
Now let's go on to yours, and it's we're going to talk about the Pokmon Presents, which you mentioned a little bit last week, but we'll go into more detail this week.
So we got some cool stuff, we got some silly stuff, we got some what the fuck moments. Like, there was this part where the show's Mewtwo, right? And he's like doing some badass looking thing. He's got like, it's got a really cool looking rendered Mewtwo, and he's doing his hand out. He's got like 3 fingers or whatever with the energy or whatever. But then suddenly he stops with the energy, and he like grabs onto his gut and kind of bends down and he farts. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? And then it cuts to this cafe fucking game. And they're like, Mewtwo's now in the Pokemon Cafe remix. Make him meals. I was like, oh my god, what? You tease me with this really cool thing, and then you're like, oh, nope, we're gonna make the most legendary badass Pokemon of all time have gas for. Okay. That was a weird thing. And then they had this other part where it had this like really cool looking bit where they were doing like a really neat like cutscene thing. That was the ending of Pokemon Gold and Silver, where the players approaching Red from Pokemon Red and Blue at the top of like the snow mountain, and it's like it looks like they might be announcing like maybe a Gold and Silver sequel or something like that, but then suddenly it switches to being about I think it was Pokemon World Champions, or what was it? It wasn't, Masters Edition. It was like something that's already out, just some like new content for it or something. So it ended up not being, got me all hyped up on 2 different times, and then it just being something I didn't care about. But they did just some cool things for like this Pokemon Unite. It's not a game I'm into, but they announced that, the Ultra Beast Buzzwole is joining, and he's an interesting, like, he's a Pokemon that looks like he should be a Digimon, like a big swole beetle monster thing. And then they got this Pika party where it's a competitive multiplayer thing where everyone's a Pikachu. There's like 12 Pikachus in the field all at once fighting each other. And some new content for Pokemon Go and Crew, including Ultra Beasts from the Sun and Moon era.
And the Pokemon Go Fest, which you can compete from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. The big things though, the biggest deal was, I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, is the Scarlet and Violet updates. They gave us some more information about that. They showed that you can like the legendaries from the cover art. It appears you get them like early in the game, and they are your mode of transportation for like you ride on them like a motorcycle or whatever to cruise around. It's kind of weird because like the blue one has functioning wheels and they spin like a motorcycle when you're riding on it. The other one has parts of its body that looks like wheels, but they don't spin, and instead he uses legs and runs. It's kind of an odd artistic choice for that, but then also they have like things on their heads that can then sprout out to be wings, so you can fly with them. They can like climb up mountains. So it's a very different approach to things. They also announced that there's going to be like 3 like kind of distinct storylines that you can choose what order you choose to pursue those storylines. So like interweave the stories to your liking. They only revealed like one of the storylines is pursuing the 8 gym badges, which you can go after the gyms in any order you want. I believe the levels don't scale with you at all, so if you go after the hardest gym, those Pokemon are still going to be like level 40 or 50 or something like that. But if you have a type advantage, you figure out what kind of Pokemon it is, and you train up enough, you could go after the hardest gym first if you really wanted to. The point is there's no artificial barriers that prevent you from going to the gyms in whatever order you wanted to. So it looks like it's going to be like there's a recommended order, but not a required order, which is kind of neat. I like that they're like making things more open. And the biggest news to me,
yeah.
What's that?
They're kind of making it kind of sandboxy, so you can choose which way you want to play it.
Yeah. And then for the other 2 stories, they said mysteries to unfold with the others. My guess is one of those stories will be, you going after whatever the new version of the Team Rocket, enemies group is going to be. I'm sure is one of those. And the other one is probably the quest to collect all the Pokemon. Or at least all the specific legendaries or something like that.
Gotta catch them all.
But those are speculations just based on the history of Pokemon. I do like though that they're letting you kind of go that they're announcing that there's 3 storylines that you can do in any order. So I think that's kind of cool. So if all you want to do is complete the gym badges, then just do that. If you want to do some of those and then run off and go after these other things to make progress, that sounds really neat as well. One of the big things I thought was really neat was they announced up to 4-player co-op, so people can join you in your game, and you have the 4 of you running around catching Pokemon together. And they had like 4 people riding their legendary motorcycle things around the landscapes.
Yeah, I think I saw during the video. I jumped back and forth through. There was a section where there was you and 3 others, and you were all fighting a big boss kind of Pokemon, and each one of you somebody.
That was something else. Is like they announced that there's going to be raids with like really high level, more powerful Pokemon, and you can have 4 people playing together against it. And then generally Pokemon matches are turn based. But when you're fighting this, you don't have to wait on your teammates at all. Like, you can all continuously keep attacking, so you don't have to worry about how long it takes for your teammates to choose their moves and stuff. Which I didn't play Sword and Shield, but I'm told that Sword and Shield had a multiplayer thing, but it was so turn-based that you had to wait for your teammates to finish their choices.
But newer technology is making it where they can do more and more of that with everybody acting on their own, so...
Yeah.
They can like borrow some of the mechanics from like MMOs and stuff to use some of the code and just modify it to work with their system. Okay. How much more do you have on this topic?
That's pretty much it. Okay. So that was something, it's all good news to me. Are you planning on playing Scarlet or Violet?
Probably not. I don't play a lot of the Pokemon games other than Pokemon Go, and I haven't played that in ages.
Okay.
But I'll watch probably some videos of it.
Yeah.
At some point, because I do enjoy the Pokemon storylines and stuff, and
Yeah.
I do occasionally, although I don't watch esports necessarily for competition, I do once in a while watch some people actually play through the games just to see the games being played that I don't get a chance to play all the time. I just don't have time or energy to do all the games.
Yeah. This game comes out like a week or 10 days or something after God of War Ragnarok. And I'm sure God of War Ragnarok is going to be like a really intense game. So I feel like this is going to be a nice cleanser to play something more relaxed and chill after I finish God of War Ragnarok.
A palate cleanser, something a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Slay some gods, kill Thor and Odin, or whatever happens in that story. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to get heavy. And then
go catch Pokemon.
Then go out and catch them all.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah, I like changing the tone that I jump between, sometimes.
Pikachu.
Yeah. Pikachu.
Jigglypuff.
All right. So, what's your next topic there, Doc?
Okay, Kickstarter time. All right, for this week's Kickstarter, as you know, I like to point out different Kickstarter campaigns because we are fully in support of crowd-funded projects from smaller developers here because, let's face it, the big developers have been doing things for far too long, and we want to see some of our smaller independent crafters get things going. And this time you got 29 days for it, so you got plenty of time to back it. It's already funded. They funded $3,238 of an only $1,000 goal. So they've already tripled their goal, and they're like in the first day of their campaign. And it's called Arcane Tools for Role-Playing Games, Witchcraft and Magic. So they're a bunch of props, runes, wands, and arcana that you can use while playing role-playing games. There's a nice wand of iron that they've got on display here with a really nice turned metal handle. It's all metal. There's a pendulum, which, as you know, if you watch shows like Charmed and stuff, are used for witches scrying. You hang it over like runes or a map to do some scrying. So they've got a nice pointed pendulum. Copper witch's bell and iron hook. So the hook and bell piece, which also doubles as a fishing lure if you really wanted to, I guess.
Like maybe in game, your pretend fishing lure. I wouldn't use it for a real fishing lure.
Yeah. The iron serpent pendant, which is kind of nice. That looks very Egyptian to me. It would go really good with like an Egyptian themed game. And as you see these little runes on the sides here, I gotta tell you that the runes, well, first there's a iron candle scribe. This is used for like carving into the side of candles for like runes and stuff. It's just a little candle knife. But then rune stones. They've got metal rune stones with real Celtic rune symbols on them, which of course is very much part of the Celtic mysticism, and they use that for prophecy and some witchcraft rituals in Wicca. And
those
so
look pretty Nordic to me. Those look like Nordic runes.
Celtic and Nordic runes are very similar because they come from the same origins. And
that would make sense. That would make sense.
But they've got these ones that are a little bit more like chits, and then they've also got iron rune stones. So you've got more rounded ones as well, and they're very detailed with the Celtic and Nordic rune symbols on them, and you get a nice bag. So it's all little props and stuff that you get to use with your role-playing games to bring, because props bring out the game, make the game more involved and stuff. A lot of people have watched, like, for instance, Critical Role, and some of the newer players think that everybody's game is like Matt Mercer's. Well, Matt Mercer has a big crew behind him that's making scenery and making props and making all this other stuff for them. Most games do not have that kind of budget. But it's nice. There are GMs out there that do take the time to make custom aged maps, and they make props and stuff. And this is a nice place to go to get some props. And let's look at the backer levels for this. Back it because you believe in it is, of course, $10 is the default there. Then they've got just the Iron Candle Scribe, which is $28. It's a little bit pricey, but $32 or more for the Serpentine Pendant. $32 or more for the Copper Witch's Bell and Hook. You've got $38 for the Magical Iron Pendulum. $50 for the Wand of Iron. $60 for the Rune Stones, set of 24 Rune Stones, or $96 for the Iron Rune Stones, and that's a set of 24, or $300, which is a patron. It looks like you get pretty much some of everything, which is really not bad when you consider it's all nice and worked iron. So this is going to be heavy. Now the shipping is probably going to be a little bit high. If it's all iron, it means it's not going to be light necessarily if you get the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's still not bad.
What was that Kickstarter called, so I can try to find it? I want to take a look.
It's called Arcane Tools for Role-Playing Games, Witchcraft and Magic.
Arcane Tools, okay.
Arcane Tools for Role-Playing Games, Witchcraft and Magic. And like I said, there's a lot of different levels, and if you just like to get, I mean, like we were talking about with the Knight Rider car and stuff, we like tchotchkes. We like nerdy things that we can put on our shelf for display, and this also counts as that. So I wouldn't be surprised if some people got them and maybe never used them in their D&D game, but they put them up on their shelves as display items because they all look really nice. I could see wanting them all. I mean, I'm not going to go. I've already done my backing for the year. But if I was to pick, I'd probably want the $300 set because I'd want everything. But I don't normally back that high. I'm on disability and I don't have the income for it. But speaking of income, while we're talking about it and while Lurch is looking at a couple of things, let me remind everybody that the channel you're viewing is the Gamer Seuss channel, which is also dedicated to Extra Life, which is part of the Children's Miracle Network. So half of everything I make through the channel, if you subscribe, goes to Extra Life. In fact, I cut it right down the middle, round it up, and give the higher side to Extra Life. Of course, I don't get a payout until I make at least $100 on my my ledger, but half of that immediately goes to Extra Life, which helps kids with like long-term conditions. Often they're hospital bound, have limited visitation with family sometimes, or it takes extra expenses to get them to be able to go home and be with their families. And Extra Life helps with that, as well as helping them with getting board games, card games, and consoles for them to try to live as close to a normal childhood experience as they can, even though a lot of them are stuck in hospital wards and stuff. So Extra Life is actually a charity created by gamers for gamers to help kids that want to be gamers. So it was originally started by a DJ who provided a girl that had a terminal cancer diagnosis some board games and puzzles and consoles. He announced it on his DJ broadcast. He got such an overwhelming show of support that he had more games than the one patient could ever play. So they spread them out throughout the ward, and it became an actual charity. And now Extra Life helps fund that kind of charity for everybody. And my site is dedicated to Extra Life, which means half of everything goes to that. And the other half just goes to maintaining the site. I don't make enough on my site, really. I'm not as prolific and stuff. I would like to eventually make enough to like do some upgrades and everything, but in general, half of everything is always going to go to Extra Life no matter what, and I don't even make enough to cover the rest of my expenses when it comes to just software licensing and keeping up my equipment. But I'm still always going to give half of it to Extra Life. So if you are like a Prime subscriber, for instance, you get one free subscription every month, costs you nothing, and you can change it from month to month. So if you think about it, think about giving me a subscription on your Prime subscription. It's not going to cost you anything extra. A lot of my viewers are students which get free Prime accounts, which means they're not even paying for their Prime account. And then they give their free subscription to me, and or a normal subscription costs $5 a month. Of that, I get half, so I get $2.50, which means $1.25 goes to Extra Life out of every subscription I get, and that's not counting bits and everything. So think about supporting the channel, and if you don't support it by subscribing, like, follow, and share it with your friends, because we're here every Tuesday with this show, and other times during the week I stream my Fractured beta testing, or sometimes I'll get in the mood and I'll stream something else like a restaurant review, or me doing silly voices, or me working on a new song, things like that. So just that's my quick commercial break for the show while we're thinking about it, and we're going to move on to Lurch's next topic, and I'm going to run and get a drink while Lurch talks. So, okay. Next topic here is Marvel's Midnight Suns delayed launch, and I'll be right back. I'm still on. I've got the mic and headphones. Okay. I'll hear and be able to talk. I just won't be able to see.
Okay, sure. Well, this one's a little bit of a shorter subject. I kind of wanted to bring to people's attention fans that were looking forward to Marvel's Midnight Suns, which was I forget what its original release date was. I think it was this last spring, I believe. It got delayed out to October, so they were looking forward to being able to play Midnight Suns in October, on October 7th, but now it's been expanded to be within the 2023 fiscal year. So, according to this article, that's as late as March 31st of 2023. And also, besides it just becoming delayed, they are also releasing it as a staggered release. So Midnight Suns will come to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC first within the fiscal year, and then the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch versions will arrive sometime after that, sometime later. It is that's potentially a 5-month setback for the current gen versions of the game, and then older, even more delay for the past gen, the older last gen. There we go.
For those who don't know, Midnight Suns is the imprint at Marvel where you get the more mystical characters like Blade and Ghost Rider.
Yeah. So as a refresher, because I know we've talked about it before, but Midnight Suns is the Marvel game that's been developed by the team behind the XCOM games. That it's going to be like a real-time tactical game instead of like a traditional just action game. But then it'll also use a cards mechanic to help you, to control like your options for your abilities and actions that you're able to do from one turn to the next. And it is primarily supposed to be, the darker side of the Marvel universe with Doctor Strange and Blade and Ghost Rider. But as we can see in this screenshot, it's also going to include Iron Man and Captain Marvel, which kind of seems like an odd inclusions for the Midnight Suns title. I mean, the more characters you can put in there, I can't complain, but it just seems like odd inclusions for the...
What I hope to see eventually would be people like Moon Knight, because he can be dark and mystical at times.
Yeah. And the main villain is Lilith, the mother of demons. And I think the main protagonist character is a new original character that they made for the game, which is, if I remember right, the story for this is written by some comic book writers, and so it's not
so nice,
or at least with corporation of comic book writers to create this character, so that they can make it a quality new addition to the Marvel universe. And that's about all there is to add to that. It's a very short news story. Just
right.
We don't know the actual release date. They just sometime it was in an earnings call or whatever, business call for the company, and they put out the announcement that it's going to be delayed, and it'll just be somewhere in the next 5 months after this. So it could come out November, it could come out December, January.
Up to, but no more than 5 months later is what they're saying.
Yeah, for the current gen version.
For current gen, right. The others might be delayed a little longer. Okay. Yeah. We're going to move on, and next up is we're going to start talking about media stuff. I'm going to start with my vault. Before I do that, I do want to point out just a couple of things in media related. I don't have screens for them. First off, the 60th anniversary special next year for Doctor Who. One of the things we know is Neil Patrick Harris is going to be a villain in the 60th anniversary Doctor Who, which is great because everybody loves NPH. He's a great nerdy icon. And David Tennant is back, and Catherine Tate, I'm not too excited about her, is back. She played Donna Noble, which is not my favorite companion, but she's back, and she was during the David Tennant era, so it kind of makes sense that she's back with David Tennant. And of course, Jodie Whittaker will be finishing her run during it, and it'll be handed off to the new Doctor during the 60th anniversary. And it's supposed to be not 1, but 3 episodes. So we don't know if Neil Patrick Harris is in all 3 or whatever, but we know that we've got until like November of next year before we see Neil Patrick Harris in it. So we've got quite a lot of time before we are supposed to possibly see any more Doctor Who. That might be, or it might be that that's just how long we have to wait to see Neil Patrick Harris, and he could be in the last of the 3 episodes, which means we might see some more stuff before that happens. But that's one of my media updates. Another media-related update that I wanted to bring out is kind of a little bit of a revelation. I found out a little bit about Ezra Miller, actually. First off, We did finally find him. He's been in rehab since July. So the police were able to find him and give him a citation, one of which he finally has gotten a felony citation for felony burglary. However, before we go starting to think that Ezra is completely guilty and stuff, a couple of caveats people need to know. First off, the house he supposedly burglarized is owned by his mother. So it may just have been that he was on a drunken or drug binge and went to the house he thought of as his own. And what was stolen turned out to have just been a couple of beers. I mean, so that just goes along with another one of those teenage, well, he's not a teen, but still might act like one sometimes. But a drunken rampage kind of thing for an immature adult. And so some of the stuff we're coming through stuff, it's still not 100% sure if Ezra Miller is quite as guilty of some things as, I mean, we do know that he's been super disruptive. We do know that he's been very aggressive with people like paparazzi and fans, and he has had bad conduct. We're not going to say he hasn't had bad conduct. We are not going to get 100% behind the fact that he is a predatory individual, because a lot of that is based on knowledge we don't have 100% of the information on. But I did want to give some updates on Ezra Miller. Now, The Flash is going forward as a movie, and it's keeping its release date so far. Zaslav has said that it's going to release as normal. Now, on the other hand, and this me and Lurch has talked about throughout the week, they have canceled Batgirl, Scoob, Supergirl, and the Wonder Twins movies through Warner Brothers, because, and Zaslav's excuse for it has been twofold. One, they were not up to the quality that they want to do in their new image for DC, and some of them scored low in the preview screening. And two, they want to switch gears, try to emulate Marvel's success more by focusing on big theatrical quality releases, and these do not fit that scheme. We also might find, once we see The Flash and some other things come out, that they aren't moving in the direction for the DCEU that we originally wanted. Now, we know that Matt Reeves' Batman is not part of the DCEU. That's a separate continuity. They're keeping the Batman, that Batman separate. So the DCEU Batman is either Michael Keaton's or Ben Affleck's Batman, or both. Because we're hearing stuff like Ben Affleck's Batman has been leaked to be in Aquaman 2. And of course, Michael Keaton's Batman and Ben Affleck's Batman are supposed to be in The Flash. So we've got lots of different things coming. One thing that they have said so far is they are still adamantly not reinstating the Snyderverse, which is, I'm hoping that we can still change their mind, because most of us they're still using the Snyderverse characters, versions of Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and this Flash is the Snyderverse version of the Flash. So hopefully we can still turn around, because I'm still of the restore the Snyderverse canon side of things. I know Lurch is too.
Yeah.
So those are just some quick media tangential updates. Did you have any other tangential update before we go into our real media section? We got so much stuff released this week that it's just like I don't even know if I'm skipping something or not.
It's kind of crazy. I know I was a little bit concerned about a couple of things getting canceled, like the Flash movie, and the Aquaman movie, and the things that they announced that are still moving forward is the Flash movie, the Aquaman movie, the Peacemaker season 2, and
Fury of the Gods, Shazam, and Black Adam are moving forward.
Yeah, those are all still moving forward. They made here's the thing that has me the most concerned. The things that they're mostly looking at cutting, that the new guys are cutting, is HBO content. HBO Direct content.
Yeah, they're going to be very, very, very picky about what they do with HBO Direct content.
Yeah.
James Gunn reassured us that Peacekeeper 2, though, is 100% safe. Peacemaker season 2, yeah.
Yeah. So from what I'm gathering, it looks like the new CEO is down for TV shows being made for HBO Max, but not direct to HBO Max movies, which is disappointing, because I feel like that's a good opportunity to fit in, smaller budget films too.
But he's trying to distance himself from the previous CEO and his particular philosophies. One, because of course he was during the pandemic when he did the direct to HBO Max thing. And the other thing is, he thinks that if they do a movie, they don't want to go small. They only want to go big. And that's why they're not doing the made for HBO Max. On a tangential note, and you did remind me of something I'd forgotten, they have officially hired Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as a consultant for the DCEU. Possibly consider, which he does a lot of his own producing and directing of his movies now, and he's very involved, and he was super involved with Black Adam. And they're hoping that he might, in some small way, be part of their Kevin Feige solution, their Kevin Feige, because he'll be involved as a direct consultant on all the DCEU products. By having one voice being involved with the whole thing, they get the advantage that like Marvel has with Feige doing the same thing, because they're keeping Berlanti mostly on only TV shows. So he's not going to be the Kevin Feige of DC.
Yeah.
But
I'm curious how much Berlanti is still. I'm curious how much Berlanti's still going to be doing, because it seems like almost everything he was working on is being canceled.
He still does a lot of projects for Warner Brothers, but for other streaming services too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something. I'm sure there's something I don't watch that he's working on.
Yeah. Oh, he's involved with like Kung Fu. He's involved with the. I think he's part of the production crew that does the Walker reboot and a couple of the other things too. So
I could be wrong. I think I heard that those two shows are both canceled, but that might just be a rumor.
The Walker one wasn't. Kung Fu might have been.
Yeah.
Because Walker just got a new spinoff too.
Did it?
Yeah. I think it did. No. It was Supernatural that got a spinoff. Anyway.
Supernatural was supposed to get a spinoff, but it didn't happen.
The Winchesters, yeah. Oh, did it not happen? Mm.
No, unless something's changed and I missed the news.
Yep.
Yeah, they did a backdoor pilot and everything for a spinoff series about, I think, monsters in Chicago or something. Mobsters in like 4 or 5 families of monsters that fight each other in Chicago or Detroit or something like that, and that failed.
It might have been Sam and Dean's father that was taking them on, because that's what it was supposed to be, was a prequel featuring their parents. Anyway, we'll keep our eyes open, and if we hear more information, we'll be sure to let you guys know. That's really the gist of it. So we're going to go into our media section. There's going to be spoilers in the media section. And mainly our media section is going to be Sandman this week. However, because of Sandman, I wanted to do a related movie as my From the Vault. And really, related to Sandman, there's only really one movie out there that's even close to related to Sandman, and that is, wrong place, Constantine. Because John Constantine, another version, Joanna Constantine, shows up in the TV series, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But Constantine is from the same Vertigo imprint, which is where we get Sandman and some of the other darker heroes of the DC universe. And Keanu Reeves did the John Constantine movie. I will say it's not as good as the TV series that came out with Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I looked. It is not currently available free to stream. You have to rent it. So I'm not recommending you go out and find the Matt Ryan Constantine right now to watch. Although you could watch Legends of Tomorrow and get some Constantine that way with Matt Ryan.
You know, I was kind of hoping that Matt Ryan would play John Constantine in Sandman. But that was something they changed up and switched John Constantine out. Because in the books it was John Constantine, but they swapped it out for Joanna Constantine, as they pronounce it.
Yeah, they pronounce it as Constantine in the show. And I will say that the actress playing Joanna Constantine is Clara from Doctor Who. So she's a Doctor Who alumni.
Okay.
Specifically the Peter Capaldi era of Doctor Who. But anyway, Constantine, the movie starred Keanu Reeves, and it had mixed reviews. Some people liked it, some people hated it. There were some differences. Keanu even did an interview about some of the differences. One of the biggest differences is they took it out of the UK, which is where it was originally, a lot of it was set, because Constantine was British, and they made him American. But that really didn't take away from the story. Keanu Reeves, I thought, did a good job playing the character for what he was given. And Lucifer in the show was fantastic. I love that actor. I can't think of his name right now, but he played Lucifer. And then, of course...
Lucifer in the movie, the Constantine movie?
In the Constantine movie, yeah. I can't think of the actor's name.
That was so good.
And Tilda Swinton played Gabriel, the Archangel. And Tilda Swinton, of course, is always amazing.
That was her role in that movie is what convinced me that she was a good fit for the Ancient One, despite not being. I was like, if they're gonna have to cast a white character as, a non-Tibetan character as an actor, as the Ancient One, and make that kind of a change. Tilda Swinton seems like a good pick because after seeing the Constantine movie and how, she just gives off an ethereal presence.
Yeah, she did really well as the Ancient One. And
she was great as Gabriel in this.
She is a great actress, and this is one of the shows that first really highlighted how great an actress she is. The special effects, especially the scenes in hell, I really loved, even though they were kind of limited in the Constantine movie. But it is definitely one worth a viewing. Make your own decisions on what you think of it. If you're going in having not read the comic books, you should absolutely love the movie. If you read the comic books, you might have some problems with some of the changes, as we all do when they change our stuff when it goes from one media form to another. But all in all, having been a comic book reader myself of John Constantine, I can say that I liked the movie. Even with, what's his name as Chaz, I can't really stand that actor.
Shia LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf, yeah. I'm not a big fan of Shia LaBeouf. He got way too full of himself, especially after Transformers. But
he did kind of lose his mind there for a little while. But I think he's been humbled more recently.
Well, he's trying to get back, and for him to get back, and for Hollywood to even work with him, he has to change quite a bit, or they won't put up with him because he's not as good as he thinks he is, which means they're not going to put him to work unless he changes his attitude. For that kind of attitude, you better be much better than he is. He's not like a Sir Patrick Stewart or Sean Connery or somebody where they can get away with that shit. And even they don't get away with it in later years. Sometimes they have trouble getting roles. So, Patrick Stewart don't have any trouble getting roles, but Connery does now. He's kind of considered past his prime. But he's more humble than Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf just went off the rails. In fact, not quite as bad as what Ezra Miller is being accused of, but he still went off the rails quite a bit. But it's definitely a movie worth watching. It is not only on HBO where I watched it, but it just dropped on Netflix again too. So you have two avenues to watch it. If you don't have HBO Max, you can watch it on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, you can watch it on HBO Max. But it's available on both. A lot of HBO Max's content is actually going out to other streaming services now as they try to monetize some of their Warner Brothers properties in their restructuring. And sometime next year, we are probably going to see HBO Max and Discovery Plus truly merge into a Discovery Plus service, which means if you pay for the two separately, you can get rid of one of them and just put them together, which is what I do because I get Discovery Plus through my Prime membership, and then I pay for HBO separately. I will end up just getting rid of the one of them and keeping the other because they'll be the same service. But I might use the extra money to make sure I still have the commercial-free version because I like them without commercials.
Yeah.
They're going to be
commercials. I'm getting YouTube commercials these days, and it's driving me crazy.
I know. A couple other people I know have gotten so spoiled on YouTube Premium. They're like, no, I'm so used to not having commercials. I can't go back. We are so much a spoiled, no commercial society. I watch on commercials because I refuse to pay for the premium. I'd rather just watch the commercials. But, I suffer when I watch streaming services with commercials like YouTube and Hulu and Tubi. When I watch those or when I watch Freevee and I still have commercials or ad-supported on Vudu, I watch and do the commercials and just kind of bite my tongue. also have the commercial versions of Peacock and Paramount. I'm not paying for the commercial-free versions of those. So I have commercials there, and I suffer through it. But every time I'm tempted, if it wasn't for the fact that I have all these streaming services, I would probably pay the extra to get rid of my commercials on the few I have. But I've got too many to constantly pay to get rid of my commercials too.
Yeah.
On my fixed budget. I probably paid way too much on streaming services if I added it all together. Luckily, some of mine are included with other services through my cell phone and stuff. But still. So Constantine is my From the Vault. If you are willing to rent it, you can rent the Constantine TV series. Also, you can find on HBO Max and Netflix the Lucifer TV series, which is also related to Sandman. And because the Lucifer Morningstar of that series is the DCEU Vertigo Lucifer Morningstar. Of course, again in Sandman, just like Constantine, they made Lucifer appear as female, at least in this season. Of course, Lucifer is an incarnation of the Undying, so they are very gender fluid. They can bounce from one to the other. So any one of those could appear male or female as time goes on. But right now, the Lucifer is female in Sandman, but male in the TV series.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the same, and then we also got Mazikeen, who's in both shows, but also a different actress. And
yeah, they did not link them, which at one point I thought they might try to do, but then in the stuff leading up to the Sandman release, they had announced the changes, so they weren't going to link them. But as DC more and more tries to emulate Marvel, we are going to see more and more linkage possibly happen. Then again, now we're going to go into Sandman right now, so I'm going to start talking about that anyway. And again, spoilers. We're not going to go through the whole season today, and that's because it just dropped on Friday. We don't want to overwhelm everybody with Sandman. We're going to do part of the beginning, and me and Lurch have decided on specifically a cutoff point for this week that we're not going to, other than make like one or two mentions of, we're not going to go into that episode or further. But I'm going to mention a couple things about the original Sandman source material. First of all, Sandman did have a bunch of references to other DC properties in the Sandman graphic novels. Martian Manhunter has shown up in Sandman. Constantine, Lucifer, Morningstar. Other characters have shown up in Sandman. They have
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin. They have cut out, in at least season 1, they have cut out those direct comic book references. They have not cut off everybody, because you do see a version of Lucifer. You do see a version of Constantine. You see a character named Lita in the show. And just to let people know who've not read the comic book, Lita is short for Hippolyta or Hippolyta. And Hippolyta is the daughter, in the comic book, is the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. But not everybody knows that. But the character of Hippolyta is actually Wonder Woman's daughter with Steve Trevor, her first human male love. So that's a link that I don't know if they're going to go into or not. We see a lot of Hippolyta in the series, although a lot of her more important stuff is past the point we're going to talk about today. But just so you know, the character of Hippolyta is linked directly to the DC universe because her mom is Wonder Woman, is Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, Diana Themyscira. Anyway, on to Sandman. First of all, I have to say, and I've scoured the internet for this, and I know that we've talked about it on Facebook and stuff and with our various friends. It is the most accepted adaptation of a book or comic book I've ever seen on the internet. Almost nobody who's seen the series that I've heard comments from has had anything bad to say about the show. It's been all positive, which never happens.
Yeah.
Proof positive, as I quoted on my Facebook post, this is proof positive that Neil Gaiman is an unmitigated genius. The man knows how to tell a story out of the box where the box don't even frickin' exist. He is great. He is one of the true masters of his craft. And Sandman is probably his seminal work. And he's had a lot of work, but his comic book, Sandman, is probably one of the best graphic novel series out. And this does it true justice. I will say that without any equivocation whatsoever. And the internet, for once, is pretty much in agreement. The only negatives I've seen about the show at all were people refusing to look at it in the first place because they didn't want to be disappointed. So I encourage any of them to watch it because it's turning out to be fantastic. I can't stop saying how great it is, even with the changes they made.
How much of the books did you read?
It's been a while, but I read the first graphic novel series and a couple of the continuation series, and I can't remember the names of the secondary book arcs that I did, but it's been forever since I read Sandman. I read them when they first came out.
There's a total of the main run. There's a total of 75 issues.
And when they first came out that I read them.
They have them collected in a bunch of volumes of trade paperbacks that have like specific names, like Nocturnes and Preludes and The Doll's House, things like that.
I wouldn't mind getting a digital graphic novel copy of them because of my eyesight. I need the ability to expand them. But I wouldn't mind if I could get a digital PDF version that I could blow up and read them again, because it's an amazing series. It is one of my favorites. I've always liked the mystical characters better than most of the other characters. I mean, Spider-Man and Batman are two of my biggest favorites, but Doctor Strange is my absolute favorite Marvel hero, and John Constantine is probably my second favorite, although Sandman is in a class all his own. So really, in some ways, Sandman is my favorite DC of all time, but it's really a class all its own. I don't even think of him only as a DC hero. I think of him
just before the pandemic, I decided to try to look in, read some Sandman, because I kept hearing about how great it was or whatever, and I really liked some of others. Every time I've encountered anything that was worked on by Neil Gaiman, I found it great. I watched, Good Omens. That was awesome. His Coraline movie was even really great. It was his Norse mythology book was amazing. So I was like, you know what? I gotta
American Gods, which is on.
So I started reading the books, which I wasn't sure if I was gonna like them, so I decided to rent them, borrow them, I guess, from the library. And through checkouts from the library, I got through about the first 1/3 of the Sandman books before the pandemic shut down the library and I couldn't get anything else. And then by the time the library was reopened and stuff, I kind of forgot about it. And now that I've watched the show,
you're ready to go back.
I'm ready to go back and read the rest of these books because holy fuck.
I'm going to say about the personification. The guy they get playing Dream is amazing. He totally gives you that initial aloof conceit that Dream has before he's fully experienced the mortal world. You get the impression of a character that's got his own kind of ego driving him. When they suggest that he gets his siblings to help, he's like, no, each of us run our own kingdom. We got to do it ourselves. They're not going to help me. His growth in the show is amazing, and it totally reflects the growth that Neil Gaiman imparts to the character. So you feel Neil Gaiman's touch throughout the show. Matthew, the Raven, I think is hilarious. He's got just the right voice to be that like everyday like American who just died kind of thing. He's not overly serious or overly any. He's just kind of like an American everyday Joe kind of Raven.
He's voiced by Patton Oswalt.
Yes, and Patton Oswalt does a great job.
Yeah. It adds some levity to a generally serious, darker tone show.
Yes. And there's personifications in the show that are so spot on. One of the main ones that is not as big in the comic book, but it was made more prominent in the show, and you actually find it out in later episodes especially, but he's involved all the way through the show, is the Corinthian. And I think the Corinthian is amazing.
Yeah.
You don't see it real clearly. You know, he's mostly got his eyes covered in the earlier episodes. But in the later episode, you finally get to see why that happens. Because you get shots of it, but you don't really focus in. So it's so fast that most people just see there's something wrong with his eyes, but you don't know what it is. Later on, and I'm giving something away here from later episodes, you see that his eyes are actually teeth. You know, so he's got teeth, mouths of teeth as eyes. And he is such a dark nightmare. He is such an image of darkness and corrupt malevolence that, I mean, you almost think that how could a sane mind even conceptualize such a dark character? You almost worry a little bit for Neil Gaiman's sanity and being able to bring up a character like this, because the Corinthian is a bad-ass villain, and he's going to go down, I think, as one of the #1 new villains in new cinema, because he is a great villain. But the whole show kind of personifies this. In the early episodes, mainly deal with Dream trying to recover his tools. I mean, they start off with him captured, and in a lot of ways they go along directly with the comic book, because the capture was originally intent to capture the spirit of death, not dreams.
Yeah.
And that was true in the comic book as well, so they didn't change that as much.
Yeah.
But they catch Dream instead. And he's captured, and we get to see him being controlled by this one great warlock who was a contemporary of Aleister Crowley, who was the mad, demonologist who had studied the Necronomicon of the Mad Arab and all that, and is probably one of the most well-known demonologists in history, was Aleister Crowley. Well, a contemporary of him was the warlock who supposedly caught Dream and held him captive. And in this case, he was doing it because he wanted his son to be resurrected. And another friend of his wanted his son resurrected because they died in a war campaign. And it ends up that the second son of the warlock inherits the care of Dream when his father dies. The second son was more the abused, like ugly stepchild type of son. He was more used as a servant and an assistant and a disappointment to his father. But he was known to come in and tell Dream that if it was up to him, he would release him. And after his father dies, he even tells Dream that he would release him, but Dream has to promise no harm would come to either him or his good friend. And Dream can't make that promise, because right now the only thing going through Dream's mind is revenge. He's like,
even part of why he's part of his reason for revenge on this kid is because the kid killed the Dream's Raven.
Right, but before that, he just wanted revenge. But then when the kid killed his raven, the kid pretty much lost any kind of capital to bargain with Dream. Dream wasn't going to bargain with him for not harming him because his raven got shot by that kid.
I think he would have been willing to leave the kid live and escape and kill the dad if the kid didn't kill the raven.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If it wasn't for the raven, he may have been able to show mercy to the kid. And of course, the kid's friend has been nothing but so far. It's like, well, why don't you just bargain to let him go? You know. So his friend, I think, would have been totally aces in Dream's book if it wasn't for the death of the raven. So the death of the raven pretty much spoiled that. But as Dream goes on, he learns a little bit of humility. He learns that people and things change. He was captured for over 100 years. So, and there is a part of the series like after the point we're going to talk to today where they go through one thing that happens periodically through Dream's history that gets revisited, but we'll talk about that next week. Actually, we'll probably talk about that the week after next, because next week we're going to talk about one particular episode completely. I think it's going to be our main focus next week, and we've already discussed what it is. Well, we'll just say it's called the cafe scene and be done with that. We'll make one or two mentions about that scene today, but we're not going to go into details about it. But it's such an intense episode that both Lurch and I had to take a break after it because it was so intense, and that's why we want to give it its own kind of episode here, because it really deserves it. Because of the sheer intensity of the episode. You are mentally
I don't want to spend a whole day on that one episode, because that was a very intense episode. It might be but I do want to give it some a little more time than than the other episodes.
It does.
I wanted to say that we had something about this show is that to give viewers an idea of how much I enjoyed the show. I was only planning on watching, a couple of episodes on opening night, on Friday night, and then, 3 more episodes, 4 more episodes on Saturday, and a few more episodes Sunday. Just kind of sparse it out over the course of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then be done by, before today was my plan. But we started watching Friday night. My girlfriend and I started watching Friday night, and we couldn't stop watching it. And we stayed up as late as we could physically stay awake watching episode after episode.
Except for the short break after the cafe, Yeah,
I physically couldn't stay awake. Yeah, we had to take a little break after the diner episode, but then we just kept going all the way through it until we reached a point where we're physically too exhausted, too tired to stay awake any longer, and I had to watch the last 2 episodes on Saturday. I don't go through that very often. I don't think I've had a moment like that since Invincible. The first season of Invincible. And that one was much less content. It was it was 4 hours shorter than this season was. So I didn't have to worry about waking up. Falling asleep or whatever. So I want to say, overall, this show, it takes a few liberties, with a few things. I think there's a few things because I don't want it to match up with some of the other things, with the other DC properties. But all in all, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of the changes made, and some of the changes made, I think, may have made certain parts of it even better than the book was.
Even Gaiman said that he totally approved of the changes.
Yeah. Oh, Neil Gaiman was there working on this.
Yeah, he was.
Neil's the guy who chose who to play the leading role, if I remember right.
Yeah, and he's the one that made all the changes, really. Most of the writing was Gaiman himself. It was not written by somebody else.
Yeah, it was. I think the two key screenwriters for the show was Neil and David S. Goyer.
Yes.
I think were the two main screenwriters for the show.
So, it was totally done with 100% of Gaiman's approval and support. And it shows because it totally reflects Gaiman's kind of storytelling. You know that this is a Gaiman work. It is not an interpretation of Gaiman's work. It's Gaiman doing Gaiman. And that is big.
I like how the structure of the show is very non-traditional.
Oh, yes.
It's not like a Berlanti superhero show where there's like a big bad that they can't find that they're trying to pursue, and then like every episode they have a smaller baddie that they have to go out and track down and then come back to home base and talk about how much they care about each other. It didn't have that kind of a structure whatsoever.
They made it their own.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean there was a couple episodes where Sandman himself was not in it much at all, but the other characters were so damn compelling and well written and everything that you didn't care that Sandman was barely in that episode.
Just because it's a Sandman show doesn't mean he has to be in every episode, and they took that to heart. And they worried more about the quality of the overall story than they did about fitting certain storytelling norms, and I like that. I love that part of it. I think that added to the integrity of the show and made it something truly, truly special.
Yeah.
And so if you get a chance, I mean, if you get nothing else out of this episode from us, we're telling you to go watch this show. Because you will not regret a single moment. You might regret some of the sleep you lost, but you're not going to regret the purpose of that loss.
I'll give a content warning, though. I'll give a content warning, and it gives this on the beginning of the show. Throughout the show, there are some moments of some extreme violence and some moments of self-harm.
Yeah, there is some darkness in this show.
Yeah, there's definitely a fair amount of darkness in this show. So keep that in mind if you have sensitivities to those kinds of things in your media.
Especially from the cafe onward, the darkness is pretty intense. From that point on, the darkness is pretty prevalent, and so be ready for it. That's not to say that there aren't some endearing and lovable characters after that, but the darkness is present and accounted for as well. So don't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
But it is such a great show. We've got about 15 minutes. I'm surprised we got 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
So we can talk.
I think why we have time left is neither of us can quite remember what is and isn't in the first few episodes, and enough specificity to not risk accidentally spoiling things later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get you.
That's kind of. I'm like, I watched it all. It was just like one big amazing movie to me. So
you consumed it, yes.
Yeah,
that's the word for it. Consumed.
The way I consumed it. So I'm like, I know the general gist of what the first stories were, and they were, first is him escaping from from Magus's entrapment in the basement, and he was down there for 100 years. I love how sometimes like his punishment is, you would think, in some cases the worst punishment might be death, but his punishment, since he's a master of dreams, he can like entrap you in an everlasting nightmare.
Right.
And so you can't wake up, and you're just stuck asleep, just living through horrible nightmares.
Right.
That kind of stuff. And there's some moments in the show where I was really concerned. There was one in particular I was really interested in seeing how they handled translating from page to screen, that they managed to masterfully put down so perfectly.
Right.
Like, There was one part in the first or second episode where there's a shot of Dream himself that was just spot on perfect. I literally blurted out loud, "Oh, that's perfect."
Right.
You know, and Allie's like, "What?" I was like, "Just the way he looks in that moment with the," and I don't want to give like the details here, but just the way it's, because like I forgot about that panel from the book until I saw the image on the show, and I was like, "Oh, I remember that page." And that was an amazing shot too.
And
yeah, in the Diner episode that we've been talking
yeah.
about, there was another scene that I was keeping in mind from before I even started watching the show, going, I wonder how they're going to handle this moment. I wonder if it's going to be anything like in the book. And it was exactly like in the book.
Just maybe
but on screen.
Not as drawn out, but that's about it.
Well done. I was impressed.
Yeah, the effort they took to be true to the source, to not essentially change what the story was about, is so apparent. It is so there that you totally recognize Gaiman's involvement through the whole thing, and him being true to his original story and not trying to change it. He updated it. He made minor changes to fit the new medium and stuff, but he did not really change it. And that's the thing.
I haven't actually done the class, but there is an online class at masterclass.com that Neil Gaiman
Allison actually mentioned that.
Yeah, and I did like the introductory thing so I could get an idea of what his stuff is. And he talked a little bit about how, and in his introductory thing, he talked a little bit about how you have to, something that's really important when writing is keeping in mind what medium you're writing for. Because one way of writing works really well with novels, but doesn't translate to screen well, and what works for a graphic novel might not translate to prose, or what works in a show might not work in a movie. And so the way you write and the way you structure and visualize things can be completely different depending on the medium that you are
intending it for.
And that is a lesson that he's teaching in there, and he's an instructor on the masterclass program for writing for a fucking reason. He's a master writer.
We never did use that free trial that you gave us because we couldn't decide when we would set aside the time to use it because we wanted to use it. So we still haven't, because his is one of the classes we wanted to take.
Yeah.
He is definitely one of the classes I would sit through.
Yeah. I went through, I wouldn't say I sat through because I was actively participating. I did the Steve Martin class and the Aaron Sorkin. So the Steve Martin class on comedy and the Aaron Sorkin class on screenwriting. I hadn't gotten to the Neil Gaiman class on, I think his is called storytelling, I believe is the name of his class.
And he's a master storyteller.
I haven't gotten to that one. And part of why I didn't get to that one, I put that one aside going, I'll do this after I have more familiarity with his work. And that's what started. That's what triggered me renting books from the library.
Doesn't Stephen King have a master class on there too?
Who?
Stephen King?
I think he does. I know that R.L. Stine does.
Well, Stephen King, I think me and Allison, basically, I pointed out, and it's probably the truth, he's one of our true artists of storytelling, and he's a machine. He puts out so much. He is the William Shakespeare of our era. Stephen King is that kind of prolific and powerful writer. But Neil Gaiman is the revolutionary. He is so different and so out there and has opened so much up and inspired so many other authors to do different looks at things that you could learn from both of them so much of the craft of writing. As a writer myself, and Lurch is a writer, And Allison's a writer. A lot of my friends are writers. I don't think anybody would deny the fact that Neil Gaiman, Stephen King, these are true masters of the craft of writing itself. And, you know, whether you like their actual writing or not, that's not a matter. Because some people don't like some writing. But the actual craft of writing, you can learn from them.
Yeah. The FYI, the Duffer Brothers have a class on here now. The Developing an Original TV Series.
Oh my God! Now I know. We so want to get master class. We just still haven't done it, and it's fitting it into our other things we do.
You might check on when they expire. I don't know, because I sent that to you quite a while ago.
I think yours is expired again. So we'll have to wait till you get another one.
I mean, I have an active membership currently.
Which means every once in a while you'll get a free code from somebody.
Did the code I gave you before expire? That's what I was reading. The code I gave you has expired.
I think it has. I could double check it at some point. The thing is, I think we're going to wait to ask for one until we absolutely know that we have time to sink into it. And then we're going to dedicate the time to it. But because if you just send it to us and stuff, we end up never getting around to it. And we don't want to waste it. So, because it's something we think, and that's something we could probably impart to our listeners. Masterclass is a worthwhile program. If you want to join anything, Masterclass has classes from industry leaders in every kind of creative industry. And they teach you how to do stuff. I think Grisham talks about writing in there, R.L. Stine, Neil Gaiman, Stephen King. You know, there's so many authors and stuff to talk about. There's other creators. I think Gordon Ramsay has a master class there for cooking. And I think Wolfgang Puck has one. I mean, there's so many things you can learn from masterclass. As he just said, the Duffer Brothers are now on there with writing a screenplay for a TV series. You know, you're going to get so much out of that. If you're into the creative arts and you want to learn from people that have come before and made their mark, I mean, what better author to learn from than Neil Gaiman or Stephen King? What better chef to learn from than Gordon Ramsay or Wolfgang Puck? You know, what better screenwriters to learn from than the Duffer Brothers? I mean, these are just true masters of their field, and these are going to be things that's worth it. So a little bit of a commercial here for them. We will say that it's worthwhile to go into these things if it is something that you're going to invest the time in. If you're not going to invest the time in it, then don't, because it is something you get out of it what you put into it. So if you're not going to put the time into it, don't waste your money. But if you are going to put your time into it, it is worth the money, is what we're saying. And if you get a chance to go out and read the graphic novels for the Sandman, we recommend it. If you get a chance to see this show, if you've got Netflix, this should be in your queue. In fact, it shouldn't be in your queue very long. You should already be watching it. This is an amazing, amazing show. But don't make any plans, because you're going to get sucked in like a black hole, and you're going to blink and you'll be like, wait a minute, I've been watching this straight for 4 or 5 hours. I need to get up and move and stretch, and grab a bite to eat, hydrate, and then maybe go to bed for a couple hours before I watch the last couple episodes. Because you'll be like Lurch, where you can barely stand up, keep your eyes open, and you're like, I want to watch the last 2 episodes, but I'm falling asleep.
Yeah. I'm doing a quick look through some of the newer instructors on this program. They've got Bill Nye on here.
Mm-hmm.
And who was that? Mariah Carey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Apparently George Bush will be on here soon, coming out summer 2022.
That's unfortunate, but okay.
Ringo Starr, teaching about drumming and creative collaboration.
Interesting. I mean, if he was a Beatle, I mean, you can't knock the fact he was a Beatle. I mean, he was only the drummer, but he was in the Beatles.
Metallica.
I mean, hey, you could learn a lot from Metallica. I still have to say, what?
Yo-Yo Ma.
I'm not sure who that is.
He's a cello player, I think. Gosh, they just got so many.
Yeah, that's the thing. And if you join Masterclass, you've got like unlimited access to this stuff.
Yeah, they have two different versions. You can either pay $90 for like one class, which is like 20-something lessons from an instructor or whatever. Or you can pay $180 for a year subscription. And then for 1 year you have access to everything on the site.
And really, I'm saying that the one that's most worthwhile would probably be that $180 one, because once you get started, you're going to want to learn all kinds of things. It's just you got to look at how many classes can you do in a year.
If you take the time to make the most of it, that is
worth it.
Worth it.
If you think you're only going to be able to dedicate yourself to one class, go ahead and do the $90 one. But if you have a lot of free time and you want to actually dive in and do a lot of things, $180 to have access to all these instructors, I mean, it seems like a lot, but it really isn't. I mean, that's, not much. That's what, $15 a month when you break it down? $180 is $15 a month times 12. So, yeah, $15 a month, that's nothing. You just pay it all at once. That's worth it for that much access to that much talent. It is the end of our show. We've got like about a minute left. We're going to end on time for once. Oh, my God. It's partly because the media is kind of slow right now. We're getting ready to amp up again. We will have I Am Groot next week. We'll have more talk of the Sandman next week, and we'll have some more of our side topics next week. The following week, we will have She-Hulk and more Sandman. And then we will start amping up from there. Of course, August 31st, we get Stargirl coming out. So after August 31st, we will start covering the new season of Stargirl. And so we've got some more stuff coming. Anders is getting ready to come out for Star Wars. So at least Lurch will want to talk about some of that. There's so much more that we can talk about. I haven't even covered. But just to let people know some of the things that have come out. On Hulu right now, you can watch the prequel to The Predator called Prey. It's on Hulu.
Oh, yeah. That looks... I'm hearing nothing but good things about that.
Lightyear came out on Disney+, so if you're waiting to see the Lightyear movie, that's out on Disney+. I mean, there's still lots of stuff coming out. More and more stuff and new stuff is being released. In September, the new season of Cobra Kai comes out. For the continuation of the Karate Kid thing in the modern era. We've got so many more things coming up. New things are putting on the slate. Barenthal is supposed to be reprising his role as the Punisher eventually in Marvel's Cinematic Universe. There's the Wednesday Project is still supposed to come out. I think it's in October, which is the Wednesday Addams TV show. I think that's a Netflix property.
What's that?
Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, the Wednesday series. That's right.
And that's Netflix, right. And I think that's Tim Burton as well, which would lend itself to Netflix. The Weird Al Yankovic biopic is going to be coming out on the Roku channel. We've got, so many things that are coming out. Rob Zombie is working on the Munster movie. You know, so Rob Zombie is doing the new Munster movie based on the old Munster TV show with Herman Munster and Lily and all that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a thing, and it's going to talk about when Herman meets Lily. So it's kind of like a prequel to the old TV show, but through the mind of Rob Zombie, so that's going to be totally interesting. We've got so much coming on. Nerds are ruling the world right now so hard. So much of media is being taken over by the nerds. Nerds rule, as we all know. We are the nerds. We are proud, and we are taking over. The D&D movie comes out March 3rd of next year, my birthday. So much was revealed at Comic-Con. Some things have fallen from the wayside, like Batgirl, Scoob, all those things. And we do mourn their loss. And we do know that in some cases it was done partly as a tax write-off, which is why you probably never see any part of Batgirl because they cannot monetize it or they can't take the tax write-off on it. So yes, it was like a $90 million project, but if they can recoup even 75% of that through tax loss, it's worth it to them. So you can't really blame them. 100%. Yes, as a viewer and a fan, you can kind of blame it because if it was that bad in screening, we almost want to see it because it's that bad. Because everybody wants to watch a train wreck. I mean, but anyway, we're going to bid you adieu for the week. We're going to catch you back here next week with, like I said, mainly I Am Groot and Sandman and some more talk in the worlds of video games, role-playing games, board games, and Kickstarters. And then we're going to dive into the meat of stuff the following week when She-Hulk comes out. And then we're going to really start amping stuff up again, and we'll have some more media content. And a big part of our show will be media again. We've got movies coming out real soon, too. Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods. You know, we've got so much more coming out. We've got the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
I think you're starting to repeat yourself now because I think you just said all these same things a few minutes ago.
Well, no, I never said those three. So, but those are coming out. But I do mention them every week. So we are done. I do tend to get back into my repeating of myself at the end of the show. So let's go ahead and just say goodnight. Excelsior in the spirit of Stan Lee and in the spirit of combat games everywhere. Finish him.
So, bye.
Bye.